Get out! Her big day doesn't need a selfish, ungrateful embarrassment like you. My father's voice shook with rage as he pointed at the door. My stepmother smirked behind him. My sister Vanessa fake cried in her designer dress, whispering loud enough for me to hear. She's always trying to ruin everything. I looked at the man who once called me his hero and said only one word: fine. 2 weeks ago, he threw me out. The same daughter who spent 4 hours in surgery donating bone marrow to save Vanessa's life. The same daughter who's been quietly paying $138,000 of her medical debt for 4.5 years while they planned a $165,000 dream wedding. The next morning, Dad smiled at my empty room and said, "Good. Now nothing will ruin the wedding." But yesterday, the venue manager, a woman they didn't know, walked into their final meeting, placed an old hospital file on the table, and spoke words that ended everything. "My name is Morgan Nelson. I'm 27 years old. If you've ever been used and thrown away by the people you sacrificed everything for, drop a like and comment, 'I know the pain,' below. Tell me where you're watching from. This story is just getting started. Let me take you back to where this really began. September 2015. I was 16 years old when my mother died. Amanda Nelson fought leukemia for 18 months. I watched her fade in that hospice bed. The same woman who used to dance in the kitchen while making Sunday pancakes, who sang off-key to the radio, who made everything feel safe. By the end, she couldn't lift her head off the pillow. The night she died, she held my hand. Her fingers were cold, papery. She looked at me, really looked at me, and whispered, "Be strong, baby. Don't let anyone make you feel small." 3 hours later, she was gone. My father didn't cry at the funeral. I noticed. I was 16 and drowning in grief, but I noticed. He stood by the casket with dry eyes, accepting condolences like he was checking items off a list. Afterwards, he took off his tie in the car and said, "We'll get through this." I didn't know what this meant yet. I didn't know this meant forgetting her. The weeks after Mom died blurred into a gray fog. I slept in her bed for a month because it still smelled like her vanilla lotion. I kept finding her hair on the pillow. Long, dark strands that I couldn't bring myself to vacuum up. Dad threw himself into work, coming home later and later. Some nights I ate cereal for dinner alone at the kitchen island, while he sat in the or hoped. Dad added a fifth chair without a word. Didn't correct her. Didn't apologize. Just silently moved the centerpiece over and squeezed in another place setting. That's when I understood. I was optional. In my own family. In the house where I grew up. I was the guest they tolerated. By 2021, I'd learned to be invisible. I was 22, finishing my degree at Portland State University. I lived on campus. Came home maybe twice a month. Stayed quiet. Didn't make waves. I thought that was how it would be forever. Me on the margins, them in the center, everyone pretending it was fine. Then Vanessa got sick. And suddenly, I mattered again. June 2021. My phone rang at midnight. Dad's name on the screen. He never called that late. Morgan. His voice was wrong, hollow. Vanessa's in the hospital. It's serious. You need to come. I drove to Riverside Medical Center in my pajamas. Found Dad and Corinne in the waiting room. They looked shattered. Dad's face was gray. Corinne's makeup was smeared from crying. What happened? I said. Dad looked up. It's leukemia. 2 words. The same disease that killed Mom. The diagnosis was acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Aggressive, life-threatening. Without treatment, the oncologist said Vanessa had 4 to 8 months. With treatment, chemotherapy, radiation, and a bone marrow transplant, she had a 65 to 75% chance of 5-year survival, but she needed a donor. They tested Dad first. Partial match. 5 out of 10 HLA markers. Not enough. Corinne wasn't biologically related, so she couldn't match. That left me. 7 days waiting for results. I Googled bone marrow donation every night. Read about the procedure. 4 hours of surgery, weeks of recovery, possible complications. I read survivor stories, donor stories, stories about pain that lasted months. I didn't care. Vanessa was 18 years old. However, I felt about our family, about Corinne, about being pushed to the edges. I wasn't going to let her die if I could help it. The doctor called on day 7. Morgan, you're a perfect match. 10 out of 10. Early July, we had a family meeting with Dr. Raymond Shaw, the oncologist. He laid it out clearly. Without a transplant from me, Vanessa's survival chances dropped to less than 20%. Focused on Vanessa, her recovery, her checkups, her medication schedule, that I disappeared into the walls. September 2021. Vanessa came home. She was weak, but improving. Cancer-free, the doctors said. A miracle. Thanksgiving that year, Vanessa was healthy enough to come to dinner. Everyone celebrated. Corinne made a toast. To Vanessa, she said, raising her glass. Our survivor. I was sitting right there, in a heating pad, still in pain 4 months later, taking ibuprofen like candy. No one toasted the donor. December 2021, a medical bill arrived. Total charges, $680,000. Insurance paid, $520,000. Patient responsibility, $160,000. I opened it in the kitchen, stared at that number, felt sick. Dad walked in, saw the paper in my hands. Insurance will handle it, he said. Took the bill. Filed it somewhere. I wanted to believe him. October 2021, 3 months after the donation. My phone rang while I was in the campus library, trying to catch up on coursework I'd missed. Unknown number, collection agency. Ms. Nelson, this is regarding an outstanding medical balance of $160,000 for treatment provided to Vanessa Nelson in June and July 2021. We need to discuss payment arrangements. My stomach dropped. That was supposed to be covered by insurance. Insurance paid their portion. The remaining balance is patient responsibility. Services were rendered during a lapse in coverage. I called Dad immediately. Dad, there's a $160,000 medical bill. Silence on the other end. Dad? I declared bankruptcy last month, Morgan. I can't help. I felt the world tilt. Bankruptcy? When? January. Corinne thought. He stopped. It was the best option. You protected yourself and left me with Vanessa's debt. I didn't know they'd come after you. I thought. You didn't think, I said. My voice was shaking. You let the insurance lapse between jobs. In June, right when Vanessa got sick. And now I'm responsible? Another long silence. I'm sorry, Morgan. He hung up. I sat in that library for 2 hours, staring at nothing. Then I looked up bankruptcy law, credit collection law, medical debt law. The debt was legally collectible. Jeffrey Nelson had declared bankruptcy. likes in an hour. Comments flooding in. You deserve this. So happy for you. What a gorgeous ring. I stared at that post at midnight. Couldn't sleep. The ring cost more than I'd paid in medical bills that entire year. She called herself a survivor. Not donor, not sister, not Morgan. Just survivor. Like she did it alone. I noticed something else. I wasn't tagged. Wasn't mentioned. I checked her Instagram bio. Marketing coordinator, Portland native, cancer survivor, engaged to my best friend. No sister, no family mention at all. I'd been erased from her origin story. November 2025. Vanessa booked Lakewood Grand Hotel for the wedding. I only knew because Jenna told me. She'd seen it in a mutual friend's story. Package deal. $165,000. Venue, catering, bar service, florals, coordination. The works. Dad would be paying, or trying to. What I didn't know yet, he'd need my help. December 2025, Christmas at Dad's house. I was invited last minute, text the day before. If you're free, come by around 2. I showed up at 2. The dining room table was covered in wedding planning materials, bridal magazines, vendor quotes, seating charts. Vanessa's dress photos spread across the surface. Corinne and Vanessa were excitedly discussing centerpieces. Morgan, Corinne said, not looking up. Glad you could make it. I sat down. Nobody asked me about work, school, life. The conversation stayed on the wedding. Finally, I asked, when's the date? Vanessa looked at me like I'd interrupted something important. April 26th. Am I invited? Silence. Of course, honey, Corinne said. Vanessa didn't answer. I left early. Nobody noticed. What I didn't know, Dad had co-signed me onto the venue payment agreement. Back in November, Lakewood Grand had run a credit check on Jeffrey Nelson. Post-bankruptcy credit score, 480. Not good enough for a $165,000 booking. The venue required either full payment up front or a co-signer with good credit. Dad called me mid-November. I need a favor, just paperwork. I'm booking Vanessa's wedding venue and they need a co-signer for the payment plan. You don't have to do anything, just sign. I'll handle all the payments. I hesitated. Our relationship was strained.